I have a confession to make. Jody Boy is one of my. Well, did I just call him Jody Boy? What the Baby Boy is one of my favorite films of all time. And I say that in the least ironic way possible. This film is more layered than what the audience gives it credit for. It has a lot of subtle moments of imagery and symbolism, which seem to have gone over so many people's head. But I'm gonna help you out with that. So, the film does a masterful job of discussing major issues within the low-income black community without making it all radical like Boys in the Hood. It still tackles themes of mental illness, feeling lost, fear, immaturity, and growing up. It's a film I always found myself connecting with when I was a child, teen, and now as an adult, I see the message clearer than ever, that Jody was a victim of his environment. I really went there. See, I see so much discourse about Jody being a bum, a loser, abusive, lacked motivation in life, all that shit. But quite honestly, no one ever questions why he was like that. They only see the result of his actions and just say he was just a loser, which is extremely unfair. His reputation was practically given to him, not earned. And like, what the fuck do y'all expect? Look who he was surrounded by. Yes, this is going to be a Jody think piece, a Jody dissertation. This is justice for Jody, and I hope by the end of this video you will see Jody in a different light. I'm not trying to change your opinion on him because he was all of those things people call him, but I'm going to get into the why. Firstly, Jody was only 20 years old. And no matter how y'all try to slice it, 20 years old is still extremely young to expect someone to have their entire lives figured out. Like, let's be real, especially when you're 20 years old in the hood. When you're born in the hood, you inherit an impossible hill to climb upwards on. And trust me, you have no resources. Most of the time, you don't have anyone to really look up to guide you in the right direction. So unless you were born with insane athletic ability, creative or musical prodigy, the likelihood of a child making it out of the hood is slim to none. And you can pretty much book that kid as cooked, because once again, if you don't have one of those two things, pretty much gonna grow up to be either a working class citizen or a criminal, are only really the two major opportunities black kids, black boys specifically have in the hood. But we're just gonna talk about Jody. Okay, so through the entire film, Jody was being pressured by Melvin, his mom, his baby mama, to grow up. But all of these people who were pressuring him to grow up were also stunted adults. So who was his positive role model? Who was the person he could go to and tell him what's truly right from wrong? Because when you're 20 and you're surrounded by a bunch of people who are doing wrong and they're trying to tell you to not do wrong, you're not going to listen to them. That's just the way we are wired. So who's that for? Let's go down the list. First and foremost, he has Sweet Pea, whom I always thought was a few years older than him, but his demeanor, his relationship with Jody gave off OG vibes, where Jody always looked up to him and always went to him when something went wrong. And in the hood, even if you're only a couple years younger than your, or couple years older than your friend, you are definitely an OG in the hood, because, you know, a lot of people don't live long in some radical hoods, you know what I mean? But Sweet Pea was a loser. He had no ambition. He was down so bad, he was begging his young head to put him down with his stolen clothing enterprise. That's pretty pathetic. And he lived with his woman and her mom. He frequently went to booty clubs. He also did nothing but run the streets and played Madden all day at Do Dirty House. Is that something a young man can really look up to? Secondly, it was revealed in the film that Jody's older brother was killed in the streets. So you have an OG who's immature, a brother that is gone, and now your mother brings in this guy who's an ex-convict, who's an ex-murderer, a thief, a game banger, hardly knows the guy, but he's cozying up in the house within a week. And you're telling me that the guy Jody caught with his meat hanging over the skillet pan is supposed to be his role model? Someone he could look up to? No, like, if that was one of my first impressions of my mother's boyfriends, I would have crashed out so heavy. It would have been legendary. My crash out would have been crazy. I probably would have burned the house down. Jody was better than me in that sense. But yeah, and also even the conversation between Jody and his mom, where she was like, Melvin's a good man. He turned his life around. He got a business. How come you can't be like that? And in my mind, I'm thinking a person's past is a clear indication of what they're capable of. So if you ever met a person and they're like, yeah, I used to rob and kill people, but I'm chill now. Like, no the fuck you're not, bro. You're actually insane. If you're actually chill after a life like that, and I definitely can't trust you. Then lastly, he doesn't have his real father present. There was no mention of Jody ever having a dad, so does his mom even know who his dad is? There's something about not having your biological father in your life as a boy that just fucks you up. I want to take a quick break to say stream my new song Eye to Eye. If you're into spoken word and hip hop, this song is for you. Also check out my poetry collections and novels everywhere. Now back to the video. Thank you. If a young boy or young man doesn't have a positive male role model in his life, the presence of a strong woman becomes 3 times more important, which he didn't have. First, his mother, who I always thought was a teen mom, as she appeared to be in her late 30s, early 40s maybe, and was still trying to be a hot girl. And as a mother, she did nothing to prepare Jody, oh my fucking god. She did nothing to prepare Jody for the real world. As you can see, he's 20 with 2 kids. And I'm sorry, that's a product of poor parenting, because my parents did not play that shit. Yeah, Jody was irresponsible. He was just fucking everything raw. But basing off what I gauged from his mother, she not only didn't seem like she was too emotionally invested in being a mother. I don't know, man. She just didn't really seem like she was great in a lot of areas as a mom. And I'm gonna just leave it there. Also, the fact that she always tried to push Jody out, given the fact that she still lives in her mother's house, also says a lot about her. He's fucking 20. He doesn't have a job. Whose fault is that? That's another thing. My mom never played that. But yeah, let's move forward. Secondly, he has his baby mama, who once again never disclosed her age, but it's safe to say that she was at least 2 to 4 years older than Jody. And with JoJo being 3 or 4 years old,
to jail. You're going to jail.
Yvette was messing around with Jody when he was only 16 years old. She's a pedo, which means she is also immature. And I say that she was a little older than Jody because she had her own place, her own car, and a decent job. But she was definitely emotionally immature as fuck. She had poor communication skills. And yeah, Jody was trash. The film did start off with him picking her up from the abortion clinic, but even that was her fault. She admitted to the fact that she stopped taking pills. Like, did you not want to get pregnant? Or like, what was your reasoning behind not doing your pills anymore? It makes no. So from the outside looking in, there was a reason why Jody had reservations about really wifing her. She couldn't be trusted. And even as a mom, she was really irresponsible. But we're gonna talk about that another day. Then lastly, you have Peanut. We never knew much about other than she was fine as fuck. But I always assumed that she was just his neighborhood boo that he got knocked up while cheating on Yvette. So there was never no future with them. So once again, with all of that in consideration, Jody was a victim of his environment. He had a lot of trash qualities, but the poor guy never really had a chance to be great in life. His only motivation was getting bitches, and he was good at that. Like, really good. He represented the hood dudes who could get bitches, but never had $40 to his name.
$40?
But nah, seriously though, I love Jody for real. Did I ever want to be Jody growing up? Hell no. But I do have an older cousin who was a lot like Jody, and I love him. He was so cool to me and charismatic.
$40.
He has like 6 baby mamas, but he never really has a job. Like, never. And he's a lot older. And it's like really crazy because my cousin used to go to Goodwill and find work uniforms and pretended to have a job to get more bitches. He was even on Maury a couple times, so he has had an extremely crazy, hilarious life. I say all of this to say that there are a lot of real life Jodys out there, but instead of judging them, have some fucking empathy. Try to understand why they are the way they are.
I'ma have me a man, boo-boo. A man who wants to be with me.
They also become what they're enabled to become. So Jody was a baby boy who wasn't given the support to grow mentally, emotionally, or financially. He was just another lost black boy existing in this void. Also, side note, by now we all know Baby Boy was originally written for Tupac to star in, but as I've matured, I don't know how I really feel about that. Yeah, obviously Tupac was light years ahead as an actor, but that's my problem. If Tupac had played Jody, the tone and direction of the film would have been completely different. I'm thinking it would have given more of a boys in the hood type of vibe, and Tupac was known for being extremely invested and involved with his characters. So much so, he allegedly threw hands with the Hughes brothers during a table reading of Menace to Society for being annoying as fuck. He was casted to play the Muslim bro, and he didn't like how the Muslim bro was written, and the Hughes bros didn't like his mouth and decked him in it, and the rest is pretty much history. You can look it up. It's somewhere on YouTube in a Tyron Turner interview. Tupac has some balls on him. No pause. I think Tyrese's youthfulness and inexperience as an actor worked perfectly well for the Baby Boy film, as it was easier for him to tap into the mindset of an immature man. He was dead ass 22 while filming this movie. Tupac would have been in his late 20s or early 30s, depending on when John Singleton would have filmed this movie, which means Jody would have definitely have to been aged up to make the story more convincing, because at any age it just would have been hard for me to believe that Tupac was 20 years old and a bum. And even with that said, if Tupac was casted, I'm sure everybody else around him, like the cast, would have been completely different as well. The tone of the film would have given a more darker nuance to it, which even now that I'm saying it, I still wish we could have seen it. Like, hopefully one day when technology is advanced, we'll get the ability to visit alternate universes, and we'll see a Baby Boy film starring Tupac to see how that really would have went. Ultimately, I always loved the unseriousness of the film, because a lot of shit in the hood is super unserious, but the comedic undertone of this film did make the heavy shit in this film easier to digest, and when it was time to be serious, it had more of an impact. The scene between Jody and Melvin after Jody and Sweet Pea popped Rodney, that scene was incredibly powerful, and they didn't say a single word. Or even the fight between Jody and Melvin, that was a strong scene as well. But that's just Ving Rhames being the dynamic actor he is, and being able to shift from being funny to menacing to caring and vulnerable. So yeah, rest in peace to the great John Singleton, who had such a vivid eye when it came to telling stories from the hood during a time where mainstream media only looked at black men as violent animals. He humanized black men through his lens, so America could have a better understanding of our struggle, and Baby Boy was no different. In my opinion, the film deserves to be appreciated on the same pedestal as Boys in the Hood, Higher Learning, and Poetic Justice. And if you don't see why, it's simply because the message was never meant to reach you. Y'all have a blessed one. Thank you for listening. Definitely like this video, subscribe. Please hit the subscribe button. And if you're feeling generous, you can donate $1 to my Cash App. It would mean a lot just to show love, because I'm not getting paid for this right now, but I'm just doing this simply for the love of the game. Once again, thank you all for listening. Y'all have a good one.